Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's resume this complete beginner's guide here in 2022 for RimWorld, shall we? Zooming out, checking out our map. Look at this beautiful little forest we've got over here. And we have a nice mountain and some ship chunks. But for now, we're going to move on with our guide and talk about building our base. So we've gotten into the game, we've described a lot of the features and the functions, but now it's time to focus on survival. So we built this stockpile in the end of the previous episode, and as you can see, all of our pawns are moving things there. Bonilla is hauling steel, Yuto is going to go get a survival meal, and Miyu is going to get the money and put it at the stockpile. Now this stockpile that I've made is strictly temporary, and it's just for the purposes of having a centralized location, but we're going to move it, or most of it, very, very soon. Now, as the stockpile fills up, you'll notice in the upper left that now the game is accurately recording our resources, and the resources that you get will run in a ribbon in the upper left that goes all the way down. I should say run in a column. And so you can see now there's our medicine, there's our components, and we have 160 lumber. Now that's not all we have, but that's all that's in our stockpile. So these indicate what are in stockpiles, all right? So that's how you kind of keep track of how much you have. So that's one reason that they're convenient. The centralized location is the other. But although they're in a stockpile, I want to show you something, and this is an interesting point that somebody brought up in the YouTube comments for a previous episode of my Let's Play, where you're starting out with the tutorial that they bake into the game, which is extremely useful, by the way. But they have you build your stockpile outside, and while that's okay, look at this, for example. If I click on this medicine, okay, it says this medicine is deteriorating, and I'm looking in the lower left in the information panel, because it's unroofed and it's outdoors. So many items actually need to be inside to prevent deterioration. So having a stockpile outside is not actually the best plan for many of your item types. Now you can tell what deteriorates by just clicking on it and looking at it. See, even the wood doesn't like being outside, all right? The components don't like it, okay? So very, very few things are okay with being outside. Now these like chunks of rock, okay, if you want to put a stockpile for chunks, which is a good idea, so you can break them into stone blocks and build with stone and things later, those aren't going to deteriorate, okay? But these packaged survival meals, for example, they sure will. This clothing, okay, but these chunks, no. And then this raw steel, no, this can be outside. This is fine. This is not going to deteriorate. So, one of our jobs as we build our base is going to be to create a stockpile that's inside. So our base is going to have to be large enough to accommodate our colonists and beds, a stockpile, a place to cook, and a place to eat. Okay, and right now I'm going to do that all in one just kind of large chamber, all right? So to build just temporarily, we're going to go ahead and go to architecture, and we're going to go to structure, okay? And we're going to go back to wall, and we're going to make this out of wood. So we're going to click on wall, and you remember you can build it out of whatever materials you have, and it will only show you what materials you have available over here. And we're going to click on wooden wall, okay? And we're going to start to hash this out. Now, I did tell you guys I'm going to build on and use this wall that already exists just as part of the wall to save resources. Also, this is a sturdier material anyway, so might as well take advantage of this. And another thing you can do on your map, wherever you decide to build your base, is you could just build up against this like mountain, for example, and use part of this as a wall for your base, that would enclose it. So that's definitely something that you can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this wall, okay? And I'm going to have them... No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to build it... Let's just go here. I wanted to go down here, but it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. All right, so I'm going to make a wall, and I'm going to have this be, like I said, big. I'm going to go have it 15 over. So it's going to be 15 wide, and then let's see how big 15 tall looks. I don't know if we need it quite that tall. Maybe we can go 12 tall. Yeah, that looks good. All right, and so I'm going to make a room, all right? And what I did was I just clicked on wall, and then I just left-clicked and dragged it. And you'll see that it automatically, like, rounds it out for you. Like, if I were to build this, you'll see this turns a corner, and it makes a conjoined beam. Now, if you don't want anything that you've built there, you can just click on C on the bottom ribbon of options for cancel, and then you'll get this big like no sign, and you just drag over that designation, and now we have a big wall mapped out for us to build. Now, important to note, okay, they will have to get things out of the way that are blocking it. So if there's a tree blocking it, they will chop it down first before they can build it. This slag, they're going to have to get that out of the way before they can build it. And now this is going to be a room. I want to tell you that the way I'm thinking of this, okay, as I plan for survival is, number one, this room looks big. If you've ever played Dwarf Fortress, which is what I came from in terms of colony management, your dwarves can get away with having much smaller spaces. You know, I guess it makes sense given the fact that they're like, they live in caves or underground, you know, in the lore of that. And so they're used to like what would potentially be claustrophobic for some. In this game, it is not that at all. Now, I know you can get mods to adjust this, but we're playing vanilla. And the people want, your pawns want enormous rooms. Like personal rooms, personal space. They want it to be really big, and they like it. It affects their mood positively if it is big, and they don't like it if it's too cramped, okay? So I recommend just building bigger than you think, and you'll get this overall, and we'll talk about how to evaluate the qualities of rooms as that comes up. But you know, err on the side of largeness, especially for your first room, okay? Because this is going to be doing a lot of jobs. This is going to be like, you know, kitchen, dining room, bedroom, storage area, all in one. And what I plan to do as we go from here is we're going to expand out and build rooms and hallways onto this, and this will change its function over time. It won't be all of those. Like, eventually we're going to give everybody a private bedroom. Eventually we're going to have a private cooking space, okay? And we'll have a separate stockpile area and things like that. But for now, we just need to get out of the elements, and we need to get people beds. So we're just going to make a kind of like rough and ready base for our operations that we will repurpose and expand upon later, okay? So if I tell them to stop, all right, if I let this go, all right, they're going to continue the job that they're on because that's how the priority works. But once they finish this, okay, immediately you'll see that Miu she's not taking stuff to the stockpile, and she's immediately going to haul wood to the blueprint. So when you select to build something, it becomes a blueprint. And what they do first, what your pawns will do first, is they will carry over the supplies. And this, you know, it kind of matches the color of what resource type they're using. And this brown box means like, hey, we're bringing over the wood for this. And then once the wood is there, the constructor is going to come over and start building this, okay? Now remember, if we go to the work panel, we can see the reason this is happening is because Miu is our good constructor, and so she is good at construction, and her priority on construction is number one, which is way higher than hauling. So as soon as she was done with that hauling, she's going to do this. Remember, they're not going to just drop what they're doing in the middle of what they're doing. They're going to finish their job and then check out their hierarchy and dynamically update it after they're done with that task. But if you want them to do it right away, you can always just click them and right-click and say, hey, go prioritize this job. I like to just kind of let them finish what they're doing so that the job is done and then move on, unless it's like some job that's going to take forever. Okay, now also, you'll see eventually that people are going to do construction, okay, as well before they haul, because they have the same priority, but construction is further along to the left on this priority chart. So you'll see that, for example, Bonilla is going to cut this wild heel route. Now you think, well, I didn't tell him to do that. Well, remember, this heel route is right here. It's in the way of the wall, so we can't build until this heel route is out of the way. Now, notice when I select this, okay, I've selected the wooden wall, but if I click it, if I click again, okay, so like you can left click, but single click to toggle between two items that exist on the same square. So now I'm on the heel route, and this has to get out of the way. Heel root, by the way, is a plant. It's something you can use to make medicine, and you can harvest it, okay, or you can cut it, okay, depending on what stage of growth it's at. Now, if it's at a good stage of growth, then you can harvest it, get the heel root, but if not, he's just going to cut it, which kills the plant. You don't harvest anything, really, and it's going to be out of the way. All right, so let's watch him work. So she's putting down blocks. He's cutting this. Now look, there's this little leaf that appears in a bar that's filling up as he goes about the business of cutting this plant. Now if I click on him, Bonilla, and I go into his bio, you'll see that in terms of plants, he's actually pretty decent at it. So he's not horrible, but this does take a bit of time to do. So he's going to be doing that. And now even Yuto is getting in on the construction game. And this is why having this priority list is so useful. Yes, I actually want them, of course, to be building a house over hauling things to the stockpile right now. The most important thing is to get people inside. So we want to do that, all right? So they're going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to just let the game unpause, and they're building this, and he's cutting that down. And, okay, so he tried to harvest it, okay? The plant was at 14%. I don't know how much he was going to get out of it. It was at 14% growth rate, but he actually did try to salvage something out of it before he chopped it down and killed it. But you can see it said harvest botched. So if they botch a job, it means their skill wasn't high enough, and they're going to get less of a yield, or sometimes no yield, or it will be of lower quality if they're like constructing something. You might have to like rebuild it or something. So it happens. All right, now everybody is building a wall. At this point, I need to stop and I need to make a decision, okay? So they're building walls, and these two squares are actively being built, all right? I need to go into architect, I need to go structure, and I need to build doors, okay? So where do I want to build doors? Now, I need to look at the map and say, okay, well, where are people going to be coming in and out? And how many doors do I want? Okay, doors are a security risk, of course, but they're also a convenience. So in the beginning of the game, I would not worry about, like, I don't want to put too many doors because of security. I would rather think about prioritizing convenience and saving time. So I'm actually going to put a door, one on the top and one on the bottom like this. And all you have to do is just click the door, okay, where you want it. And then they will build it there. All right. So now this says construction botched, okay? And when that happens, all right, you know, some wood dropped out and it needs to be restarted, okay? And that's okay. You know, you have to accept the fact that these people are terrible at these jobs. Like Yuto, for example, his construction, actually, he's pretty good. Bonilla, how are you? His construction is god-awful. It's 0. So he's going to botch a lot, but he's leveling up. So, for example, if I look at Bonilla and I click bio and I go to construction, you can see that his progress to next level, okay, is 50 out of 100. And if I stay on this and I just unpause it, you see how it's filling up? Like, he's just getting experience as he goes. It's filling up quite rapidly. And so he's going to be leveling up. Everybody can level up and get better. Yuto is vomiting. He got sick somehow. So Yuto is like puking on the ground, and you can check him out and be like, what happened? Okay, so when somebody is vomiting or something, you can click on them, and you can click on the health tab, which is the series of brown buttons. It's the furthest right above the character information panel in the lower left. And he's got cryo sleep sickness, okay? And if you want to know more about that, you can click on the eye to get information. And it just says after effects of using a crypto sleep pod. So because he was in, cryogenic or cryptogenic, I don't know if that's the right word. He was in crypto sleep. How about that? And he just woke up, like, sick. So he's not, like, actually ill, like he got food poisoning or something else. He doesn't have a disease or anything. He's just sick from that, and that just happens. So he's going to spend some time out of his day puking. After he's done vomiting, you see that he is going to go get a packaged survival meal and put it in his bag because he wants to eat. So that's fine. Okay, and you're going to see botch all over the place. It's just part of the process at the beginning. Now, he actually is going to go finish hauling that wood, so that's cool. He's going to do that job. So good for you. And there we go. Botch that construction. Do it. Now, Mew is not like... She might botch it, but she goes fast. And she's now vomiting, so they're all vomiting because it's the first day out of crypto sleep. So just don't be alarmed if this happens. Remember, we're on Cassandra as our storyteller, so there's not going to be, it's the second day. There's not going to be anything so horrible happen to us that we have to immediately worry about the status of our base. Like, you have time to build this. You want to get it done, but don't freak out about this. This is not like some kind of absolutely dire emergency that you want to freak out. And here we go. Okay, so they're still constructing. And here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pause the game, and I'm going to talk about using the space within this. Now that we have a room that's being hashed out, okay, we're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to start planning this out. Okay, so I'm going to right away go to Architect, go to Zone, and I'm going to build a stockpile. Okay, I'm going to build a stockpile that lives inside, and it's going to take up this whole side of the room. All right, and this stockpile is going to be for items that deteriorate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the stockpile, and then in the upper right, I'm going to click Storage. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that we don't want chunks, okay? We don't want corpses. We don't want plants, right? Absolutely, okay? But we also don't want raw resources that don't go bad. So we don't want any stone blocks. So I'm going to uncheck stone blocks, okay? I don't want steel. I don't want uranium. I do want wood, unfortunately, because it will deteriorate. I don't care about my money, which is like the currency. You can also make decorations out of silver, and it's worth a lot. But the only reason silver does not deteriorate, like I'll click on it and show you, it doesn't. But you kind of want to keep it inside because if bandits or somebody come by, they can just walk by and like steal your money and run away or something. So you don't want that to happen. So keep your money inside. So I'm going to state leave silver checked. Plasteel, we're not going to get that for a while. It's not a big deal. Jade does not, it's valuable. So the valuable stuff, maybe we want to keep it inside. Okay? But we're not going to put steel or uranium, okay, in here. And we're not going to put chunks in here. But everything else will go in here. Now, this stockpile, then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to storage. And I'm going to basically just absolutely crush this one in terms of what we put in it. Because I don't want anything that deteriorates. So I don't want fresh stuff here. I don't want any food to be stored outside at all. No manufactured goods, and I don't want wood to go here. I'm okay with, and I don't want my silver. Jade, plasteel, gold. I mean, I know I want them inside, so I'm going to turn these off, and that's fine. Stone blocks, I don't want in there. Plant matter, I don't want in there. And chunks, I do want. That's fine. You can keep them there. And then that's good. Okay, so now what's happening is we have two stockpiles. One that's like good for outdoor stuff and one that's better for indoor stuff. Next, what I want to do is build our sleeping area. So I'm going to go architecture. I'm going to go to furniture, and we're going to build beds. Now, if you want, you can build a sleeping spot, okay? Which is like just a place where people can sleep right now. And I'm going to build those temporarily. Okay, so I'm going to build 1, 2, 3 sleeping spots. And this is basically just designating a spot on the ground for your people to just fall down and sleep. So it's not great, all right? But it's good temporarily until we get beds built. Then I'm going to select bed. I want to build wooden beds, okay? You actually want wooden beds because of the comfort for them. And so I'm going to click here and here and here. Okay, and now we're going to build 3 beds, all right? And you can see them being built. Now, let me cancel these. I don't want to tilt anybody. People like to have the beds rotated properly, so it's a kind of funny thing. So you can push Q or E to rotate the furniture that you're placing, okay? So all I did was click architecture and then click furniture button, and then it opens up all these options of things that you can build, all right, with the current technology that we have. Now, this will expand as we get more technology, can build other things, but for now, this is what we can build. These are the recipes that we know, and I'm going to just build these 3 beds. Now, in addition to building beds, I'm going to create a work area for food. So I'm going to go to production, okay? And in production, I need to build myself something to cook with, and we're going to build a fueled stove, okay? Now, I can't build an electric stove right now because we aren't generating electricity. We don't have that set up yet. So let's go ahead and build ourselves a fueled stove, okay? And you'll see that when you build this, it's going to take 80 steel, and that's totally fine. And where do I want to build this? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to remove these. I'm just going to push X and X, and I'm going to build that again. I'm going to architect, production, and I'm going to build the fueled stove right here, okay? And they don't like it to be indoors. It says fueled stove will have a work penalty. Oh, no, actually, they want it to be indoors. It says outdoors, bad temperature, but eventually this will be indoors. It's just outdoors right now because they haven't built the walls and put a roof on this. Now, what we want, we've got a stove building. We're going to want a research bench at some point, okay? But it's not like an absolute emergency, but we can get it planned out. Again, I like to just have things kind of planned out so that we can get to them eventually. But right now we can't build this because this tree is in the way. So what you can do is just click on the tree and just say, people chop this. I'm actually going to select all of the trees and just have them get chopped. I don't really want trees inside, so I'm just going to select the trees and push B for chopping, so they'll cut these down. This tree is going to get cut down anyway because it's in the way. Then I'm going to go back to architecture, and we're going to go to furniture, and I'm going to put sleeping spots just kind of like right here until we get these beds built. So now we have a stove coming in, and we have a once we clear this chair, we can build the research bench, and then we can build a dining table for people. The dining table can go really anywhere we want. It doesn't need to be big at all because we don't have that many people. So I'm going to probably just build it for now right there. Okay, so there's a little table. And also you can build chairs. So I'm going to build a wooden dining chair. And I don't know if you guys saw, but when you're building a area like a kitchen, a little stool or chair icon appears, and it indicates that it's not going to come with the blueprint or the recipe, but if you have a chair there, the person working at that station will benefit from it. So you want to have one, and I'm building it. Now, you can see that like when I try to build this, the tooltip says 45, not enough wood stored, because I don't have enough wood stored. I don't have enough there, but you can just tell people to build it anyway. And this way, I'm going to build one more so everybody could sit down, theoretically, if they wanted to. this way, all of my stuff is planned out. I don't have the resources for it yet, but we'll get there. I'm going to unpause the game. Now, remember, too, that we do have some wood that is... Oh, no, looks like we've... yeah, we have some wood that hasn't yet been brought to the stockpile. So they'll get that eventually. And now, Bonia's hauling the chunk out of the way. Now, here's a thing that we could do. All right, I'm seeing what people are doing. Yuto is eating, okay? And that's totally fine. Now, one thing you might want to do at this point, we're building our base, is to just check in on somebody and look at their needs. So I'm going to slowly, there's still a lot we have to talk about. We haven't really talked about the schedule or anything like that, but we'll get to that. And let's look at Yuto. And if you go into Yuto's needs, you can see his mood. And so right now, his mood bar is like filled up. It's actually pretty good. Thank goodness, okay? And you can see that it's really, really high. And if the mood starts to get down here into these hash marks down way low, they start getting penalties, like where they could have a mental break or, just absolutely collapse. And we don't want that. So you can see what's making them happy and what's not. Right now, they have extremely low expectations because we just started out. So they're like, oh my God, we just survived an emergency. Okay, and so my expectations are low. I don't expect to have lavish accommodations. I don't expect to have all the niceties and conveniences of my life. I'm just trying to survive. Also, they have initial optimism, which will only last for 8 days, but it gives them a big boost to their mood. He says it's a tough situation, but I'm excited to be founding a new settlement. So they have that going for them. Now, he's chilly, so he's really cold, and it is 41 degrees outside, and he's wearing pajamas. So you can understand that, but that's why we're trying to build an indoor space to keep these people warm. Okay? Now, look at Miyu, on the other hand. She has much different indicators on hers. She has the optimism and she has the expectations, but she ate without a table, which they hate doing, and this is why we're building a table. She's chilly, okay? She's hurt, so she's in pain, ouch. And she also just has this trait where, she wants a really, really nice bedroom. So she's going to be in a bad mood until you build that for her. Now, by the way, just reminding you guys, I got here by just clicking on a pawn and then going to the needs button, which is the second from the right above the character panel in the lower left, so you can see their moods. You can also, from needs, see how hungry they are, how much sleep they have or need, if they have any recreation needs. Do they have a specific demand for being in a beautiful area? Are they comfortable? And what are their feelings about being outside or inside? All right, so all of these bars, you can kind of see how they go. So we're not taking care of recreation right now. We're not really taking care of beauty at all right now. We're not taking care of comfort too much. We're really just focusing on the bare bones basics to just start out, and that's understood. Now, what are you doing? She's going to go haul wood. So remember, even if the wood isn't in the stockpile, right, and it said, hey, you need wood, if they have wood on the map, they will go get it, okay, if they need it for something, even if it's not listed up here. So the wood that we started out with, she's going to use that to continue building our operation. Now, Yuto is hauling steel over for the construction of the kitchen area, which is awesome. And now he's working on building this table, okay? Now, I made that table out of steel, which was a mistake, but it's done. In general, I just want to say steel, you'll start out with a ton of it, so it doesn't seem that important, but eventually you're going to need so much steel that there's going to be a period where you're scrambling for steel, and then you're going to get a lot of steel, and it's not going to be a big deal. But in general, probably make your stuff out of wood. Now, we got lucky because Yuto, let me look at him, bio... He's actually pretty decent at construction. He made us a good table. So when you make an item, okay, like a piece of furniture, in parentheses next to it, it tells you the quality of it. And so this is a good table. If I click information, all right, you can see that it's good. And this just affects the quality affects like people's mood interacting with it, and it affects the value of it. So this is great. Like, we just have a nice little table here for them to work with. So that's cool. Also, by the way, one upside, even though this was kind of wasteful on steel, was that this is not flammable. So steel has the advantage of, like, if your base catches on fire, at least our table's not burning down. Now, we have one bed that is good quality that's built. That's awesome. So a good quality bed means people... Now, in this case, people actually will get, like, better sleep out of it, okay? So the rest effectiveness, you can see right here, I just kind of I clicked on the bed, and then I clicked on the eye in the upper right of the information panel that's in the lower left of the screen always, and then you can go to rest effectiveness or any of these other attributes of the bed and get more information on it, and you can see that this says how fast people sleeping on this gain rest, and its base value is 100, but it gets a little slight multiplier because it's of good quality. The better quality, the better sleep people are going to get on it, and vice versa. Like, if it's a crappy bed, they're going to get bad sleep. And how fast people sleeping on this gain rest is important because they'll actually need to sleep less. So they will be awake more to do work for you because they slept better faster. So it's like more efficient for sleeping. It's great. So that's really, really important. I'm going to remove that sleeping area, and every time we build a bed, I'm going to remove these sleeping spots so they don't accidentally sleep there. I want them to sleep on the bed. All right, Yuto is cutting down the tree, which we need done, and that's fantastic. Also, he's probably doing this. Let me show you this. Look at the work. Okay, you'll see how construction is actually higher than plant cutting. Okay, oh, and let me turn everybody on to plant cutting for now. Because we need trees cut down. You're like, well, why is Yuto not building? The reason Yuto isn't building is because there's no more wood for him to build with. So because there's no more wood to build with, he's going to do the next thing down, which for him was cutting plants out of the way. And it's also that we need that wood from this plant to do the construction. So that worked. Okay, let's get rid of this sleeping spot, and this is an awful bed, which is unfortunate, okay? And you can see that it has 86 rest effectiveness, and that's just terrible. But I'm actually one thing that some people do to level up and to get good quality items is they'll build something that's bad, and then they'll deconstruct it, okay, to get some of the resources back, and just keep building it to level people up to build high quality items. You can totally do that if you want. But I'm not going to, because I'm going to save this bed, even though it's awful, for prisoners, and I'll explain that later. But actually, prisoners you don't want to sleep well. You want them to stay sleeping so that they spend less time trying to, like, escape and break out and be upset and just are sleeping. So a bed that has bad sleep effectiveness means rest effectiveness means they have to sleep longer, which actually makes their prison sentence easier to deal with. Okay, so he's building this bed, which he built a normal bed. Now, you could, if you were like, oh my god, I'm concerned, okay, about the quality of the bed. I don't want people who are terrible like Bonilla, who has a, 0 construction building beds. So you can micromanage like what people build, all right, so that he won't build it, okay? And you can select upon and just be like right click and then force them to work on it. But Bonilla luckily can't even build a chair because his construction is so low. So I can't even have him do that because it requires a certain level of construction to be able to build it. So that's at least decent. Okay, so now we're cutting down trees, which does take some time, and he's immediately using that wood to build the wall. Even Mew can't build stuff, right? This symbol right here on the stove that says no wood means like we can't fuel this stove with wood because we have no wood to fuel it with. And that's a good point. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to architecture, I'm going to go to orders, and I'm going to select chop wood, okay? And then I'm just going to be like, you know what? We need a bunch of wood, okay? So I'm going to just kind of drag a giant box around our area and designate all of these trees for chopping. Now, that's a ton of trees, but If I feel like I have enough wood, I can either undesignate those or I can lower the priority of cutting plants. But we need wood for basically everything. For cooking, for building our base, for building our furniture. So right now, this is important to us. So let's get it. So now they're all doing that. And we're trying to finish this sleeping spot, or this little base. Okay. And then Yuto, who does have good construction, is building a chair now that we have wood. And you can see that they kind of like arbitrarily will choose what task they're working on. Like I had assigned this place to be built before this chair. And so it's not like it's, you know, they do things in any kind of order when lots of jobs are assigned. So sometimes you do have to take manual control if you really care about it, but I'm okay. He's eating. One day, he's going to be able to eat that meal at this table when the chairs are finished. Now, you can see a chair is something that is actually a little bit more complicated to construct. If I click on the chair, you can see that it takes 45 wood, and work left means like how much time it's going to take this person to build it. And so I can just kind of like push the spacebar and unpause it. You see that number getting smaller. Now, that number will go down faster if the person is more skilled at construction or in other bonuses, but for right now it's just an indicator. It's moving down. And so something like a chair takes way longer to build than a bed or a wall or something. He built a door, he botched it, he's going to try again. Okay, there's a chair, and it's normal quality. So now people can actually sit down. I'm going to turn off, I'm going to deconstruct that sleeping spot. Right, and so you just select something and you push cancel to cancel a construction, or you push deconstruct to get rid of it. Now, another thing I want to show you is you can also, okay, if you don't like where this is, you can uninstall something and then reinstall it somewhere else. If you uninstall it, they'll just take it out and like put it in a stockpile. But if you reinstall it, you could be like, hey, can you actually move this over here? You don't have to break it and then move it, okay? So certain things can be just reinstalled. Not everything, okay? But some things can. Like the beds can be moved around. You know, the table can be moved around. And right now it's set as a gather spot, which means like if they're going to have a party or something, they might want to gather around that. Now this door is done, and you can see that it's been built. And that's tremendous. Now we have doors in and out. Okay, and she's building chairs, and they're really prioritizing building these chairs. I want them to finish building these walls, though. So I'm going to kind of speed it up a little bit. Be like, hey, people, can you finish this? I'm going to push 3 to just go as fast as possible. I want them to finish these walls right here. So actually, I'm going to just leave the job here, but I'm going to forbid this. And I'm not sure if that'll work, but I don't want them... I don't know if that only just forbids them from sitting on it, but it says it'll forbid them from interacting with it. I don't want them to do this right now. I could just cancel it, but I'm being lazy about it. So you'll see now if I click on Yuto and Mew, it's like, what are they doing? And what are they doing? They're relaxing. So remember, look at their needs. They need to recreate. They need to chill and talk to each other. And so creating this table space, it's not only a place for them to eat and be comfortable, but it also satisfies their recreation when their expectations are low. So just by getting to sit down and talk, you can see they get a positive mood buff for this, okay? Oh, and apparently Gunther is Bonia's dog, so he likes being with the dog. And that's terrific. Now they're wet, okay? So this is another reason why you want to be inside. They're getting rained on, and they don't like it, okay? So we're going to be able to deal with a lot of these negative buffs in a moment. And he's finishing the wall, and now watch this. Okay, so once you finished walling something in, they automatically, unless you want to turn it off, okay? They automatically will start trying to roof it in. And so you can see they're like, this little corrugated steel icon is them putting a roof on this whole place, okay? And so eventually, they're going to be done with that job. Okay, the tree has to be cut down for the roof to be finished because it's like poking up too high. And then, boom. Let me see if we're done or not. Okay, constructed roof. Okay, good. Now look at this. This, okay, is outdoors, and this is indoors. How do I know? In the lower right, where it says temperature, if I'm outside, it's 47 degrees, and inside, it's slightly warmer. So inside, we get the benefit of it's warmer, and it's not getting rained on. So now they're done with the roof, and this place is inside. But if I zoom out, it's easier to see. It's dark now. We're inside, so we're not getting any light. We need to go to torch, okay? And we do that by going to furniture, and then we just say torch lamp. Okay, now this says it's a wooden torch for lighting an area. People need light to move and can work at full speed, okay? And it does produce a small amount of heat. So this is good for starting out, except you have to refuel it. But it's like it's kind of cold, so this is nice. So I'm going to put a torch here, and I'm going to put a torch here to try to light this space for now, okay? And let's see if they do it, and boom. You see how once they've built the torches, immediately the lighting effect in the game shows that this is now lit, okay? You can actually see that by going into the lower left tooltip with the mouse, and at the very bottom it says lit 50%. So it's like 41% here. The closer I get to the torch, it's going to get to the max lit that the torch provides, which is 50% light. It's not like a light bulb or something, but it's pretty good. So now they're not in darkness, okay, and they're getting some heat, and they have an indoor space. So we have an indoor stockpile, we have beds, we have a dining area, and I'm going to unforbid that chair so they'll finish it. And eventually we can actually start cooking now. So we're going to keep moving stuff and moving supplies. We're going to also go ahead and just go to architecture, production, and build a simple research bench, okay? And I'm going to rotate this and just put it like right here for now, okay? So now we're going to have our indoor space with beds, with a research table, with a place for them to eat, a stove, and a stockpile. And this is a pretty good start. And everyone, I think this is a good place to stop this episode. We learned about construction. We learned about inside, outside, lighting, mood. We learned more about how the priorities work. We're chopping down trees. We've got a bunch of things queued up. And our people are doing quite well, all things considering. And that's tremendous, all right? I want to say thanks so much, everyone, for watching. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you in the comments below. I hope this guide was useful to you. I'll check you guys next time. Take care.